We now turn our attention to the next method under fundamental valuation, and we're going to look at relative valuation, right? So, as the name suggests, relative valuation is the value of a particular company or a security with reference to what other similar companies or securities are trading in the market, right? So, it's relative in nature, it's not absolute in nature, right? So, that's basically what we are looking at. Under this method, we are trying to look at what the market is paying for similar securities, right? So there are two keywords here. One is what the market is paying, and the second is similar securities. Now, what do we mean by similar securities? Similar securities are considered similar in risk. What could risk come from? Let's say we are talking about companies. Risk could come in the form of size. Risk could come in the form of business model, and risk could come in the form of what kind of industry you are in, right? What is the work that you do? When we say business model, it could be that you're looking at risks in the context of, let's say, an e-commerce firm versus a retail firm, right? Those risks could be different, and because of similarity that you have to identify in the risk profile, that is the necessity when you're looking at relative valuations. So I cannot compare an Infosys to a Tata Steel easily, right? Because they are in different domains, their business models are different, the drivers that run their businesses are different, the risk factors are different. One company has debt, another company does not have debt. So technically, it is very, very important to identify similar securities before we can go about doing the relative valuation. In other words, if you're looking at something like a bond valuation, you could look at what is the government bond valuation in India, and then you could probably look at other similar bonds valuation. And based on this judgment, you can arrive at some sort of an estimate for our bond under consideration, right? That's basically how relative valuation works. Now, there are a lot of nuances when you look at relative valuation in particular. It seems like a fairly simple process that if you're looking at a company like Infosys, just compare what's happening to TCS. But therein lies the little bit of a challenge while using something like relative valuation, right? So, what is the challenge? Let's take an example. Let us say we are evaluating a company. Its sales are 200 crore and its profits are 20 crore, right? So 200 and 20. There are other two companies that have sales of 3000 crore and 1000 crore respectively, and their profits are 600 crore and 150 crore respectively. Let's call this company A, this company B, this company C. Now, the market value that is given, in addition to the data that is given, also known as market capitalization. Remember what is market capitalization? Market capitalization is nothing but number of shares into share price. So, what is the total value that if you were to acquire this company completely, 100%, that you have to pay? So we find that the market value is 3000 crore here and is close to about 1200 crore here. That's the data that is available. Now, if we were to try and find out what should be the market value of the first company, that's our question. So our question here is, what is the market value of company A? That's the question that is there in our minds, right? Now, how do we solve for this? Now, there are various methods of solving this. Let's outline the data that we have again. What do we have as the market capitalization? We have 3000 here and we have 1200 here, right? That's the data that is available, and we are supposed to find what do we think will be the market value of company A. Let's look at two or three ways of looking at it. Let's make a small assumption that these are similar companies, right? Even though the size is not the same, they're different in size. We will say that in terms of business models and in terms of industry. How are they similar? In terms of business and industry. Let's say they are similar companies. So all other things are equal. If other things are equal, let's try and identify how do we value a company. So in one case, we can look at what is the market cap versus sales of the company, right? 3000 crore market cap, 3000 crore sales. So there is a 1:1 kind of a ratio of market cap versus sales. 1200 crore market cap, 1000 crore sales. So there is a 1.2:1 kind of a ratio that you see, right? In other words, if I were to calculate a ratio like market cap by sales, in this case it is 1, in this case it is 1.2, right? Now, one of the things I can try and do is take an average, and the average of these two, is going to give me a value of 1.1. Right? So 1.1 times the sales is what I'm looking at. This is 1 time sales. This is 1.2 times sales. If I take a simple average, that's 1.1 times sales. So by this method, the value I should get should be 220 crore. 1.1 times 200, right? Let's look at another ratio. Let's look at market cap versus the profits of the company, right? Eventually, we all deal with profitability and we want to look at profits, right? So here, when you look at market cap to profits, for company C, this number is 1200 divided by 150. That's 8 times. Here it is 3000 divided by 600. So that's 5 times, right? Now, what should be the range? Should it be 5 times? Should it be 8 times? Should it be somewhere in between? Again, if we take a simple average, what should be the average? Average should be 6.5. 6.5 multiplied by 20 should give me a value of 130 crore. So if I value it using an average market capitalization or market value to profits kind of a ratio, I get a value of 130 crore. If I value it using an average of what is the sales and market cap ratio, I get a value of 220 crore. Maybe the company lies somewhere in between, right? But therein it gives us a way or a mechanism of arriving at the value of company A based on our estimate of values of similar companies, company B and company C. I can take an average. I can say which is the company that is most similar. So if I say that company A is very similar to company B, then I will probably use 1 and 5 as the numbers. So 1 will give me a value of 200, 5 will give me a value of 100, right? And probably based on those estimates, I try and arrive at a value, right? It is important, however, to see that there are nuances in this valuation, and I'll come back to those nuances when we discuss the problems of how do we use relative valuation. But inherently, it's a simple process, and we've used this simply here to arrive at some sort of a value which probably lies anywhere between 130 and 220 crores. We don't get an exact estimate, remember, but we do get some sense of estimate that, okay, what should be the value of company A, right? So what are the key benefits that we identify? It bases the comparison on market's estimate of similar companies, thus eliminating the problem of making individual estimates for a company. We just need the sales number and we just need the profits number. We don't necessarily need a whole host of the other projections that we need in the kind of a DCF valuation if we were doing that, right? So typically it's faster in nature, it's relative in nature, thereby giving a value in line with the sentiment and perception in the markets, right? It's not an absolute valuation. Sometimes in markets, sentiment and perception value a lot. Remember our box example in our first section or first session? We remember that the value dependent on the demand supply and what the peers were estimating for it. Now, these two may sometimes may not be in line with what the intrinsic or absolute value is. That could be for a variety of factors. Let's say if you want to invest as a stockholder in e-commerce companies in India, there aren't too many listed. So the supply is less. Supply being less, the demand will be higher, and hence there would be a possibility of paying higher for these companies. Now, that's the sentiment and perception in the market. So, it keeps in mind the demand and supply in the market and does not necessarily base the value solely on an objective or an absolute estimate of what the company's forecasted future financials would be, right? It is relatively simpler as an exercise. We already saw that. But that sometimes turns into a problem because of its simplistic nature, right? So those are the key benefits. Now, to understand the issues of relative valuation, we have to go back to our example. Now, when we look at our example, there are a few things we remember assumed that these are similar companies, but they are not necessarily similar. One of the things is that size-wise they are not similar. The second thing we note is that even profitability-wise, what do we mean by profitability? The margin they generate. So this is a 10% margin company. This is a 20% margin company, and that's a 15% margin company. What does it tell us in our example? It tells us that scale probably drives the profitability. What do we mean by that? As the company becomes larger, from 200 to 1000, profitability goes up. As it becomes even larger, from 1000 to 3000, profitability goes up even further. So we may not be 100% certain about comparing these companies. It's not so simple that we had our understanding simplistically put in that we can take an average. We do spot that because profitability is driven by scale, then larger companies should get higher value. That's the logic that we get, right? The second thing we saw was that if you look at the market value in terms of profit, this company was getting 3000 crore, which is the same as the sales, and 5 times its profit. This company was getting 1200 crore, which was 1.2 times the sales and 8 times the profit. So why is company C getting a higher value? Maybe, maybe company C is growing faster. Maybe. I don't know. We don't have that data with us. So if it is growing faster, we can't really identify why is it getting a higher value than company B. If it was point A, which definitely says scale drives profitability, that means a larger company should get a bigger value because they're able to generate more profits out of the same money invested, right? Secondly, company C we perceive or we see that the stock market is giving it a higher value than company B. It might be doing that for its own wisdom, for its own reason, which could be maybe there is a mispricing, maybe company C grows faster, maybe company B has a bigger debt. We don't have all that information available, right? So sometimes using simplistic measures of what the value of a company could be, we might make a mistake while using relative valuation. And that brings us to the crux of the issues while using relative valuations, right? So what are the issues? The first issue is that it assumes that the market valuation of similar companies is correct. We are saying that because a certain company trades 1.2 times its sales, our company should trade at 1.2 times the sales, which inherently assumes that 1.2 times sales is correct. That may not be true in real life, right? So that's the first issue. We can't remove this issue because that's the objective of relative valuations. You are starting with an assumption that market in its wisdom has given a certain value to a certain kind of companies. You are basing your judgment based on that, right? Since it is simplistic, analysts tend to use it incorrectly. We just saw an example. We just took a simple average. Now that simple average, even the first level of analysis told us that that simple average point may not be entirely correct, right? So that's something we probably missed when we were doing our average estimates calculation. The next bit is that there are many parameters that can be used for relative valuations. Like, in our example earlier, we could have used something like market cap to sales as a value. or we could have looked at market cap versus profits as a value, right? If we use the first method, we were getting something around 220 crore as the value. If we use the second method, we were getting somewhere around 130 crore as the value. Which one is correct? And the difference between 130 and 220 is significant, right? The difference from 130 to 220 is nearly 60%, maybe more, in fact, about 70% or so. Now, that's an incredibly large range to get based on what parameter we should be using. Should we be using sales? Should we be using profits, right? So that is the next issue that comes up with relative valuations. When we discuss relative valuations in a more detailed manner in one of our further units, that's where we're going to try and identify how do we solve for some of these issues, how do we eliminate some of these issues. The first one, however, cannot be eliminated. That's because we start with an assumption that market is valuing a certain company at an amount X, and we're basing our judgment on that. So we have to live with the theory that the market is correct, right? We can't change that estimate. That's basically what relative valuations are. And as we end this particular section, we come up with two quick questions on it. Explain relative valuation with an example, and try and use another example as compared to what we used in our slides. And what are the key benefits of using relative valuations against, let's say, something like a discounted cash flow valuation, right? That's it in this particular section. Thank you.